Hello dear learners, I am Professor Akhade Kavita from Department of English, Dada Patil Mahavidyalaya, Karsat. Today we are going to discuss on Linguistics An Introduction. Today's topic is Linguistics An Introduction. Key points in this unit we are going to see: does the animal have language? So about language, the definition of language, then the design features of language, functions of language. About linguistics, main branches of linguistics, important distinction in linguistics. Linguistics means what? Linguistics simply is the study of language. Then, what is language? Is language human specific? Do animals have language? The definition of language is like this. Language is purely human and non-instinctive method of communicating ideas, emotions and desires by means of voluntarily produced symbols. Sapir says it is. This definition is given by Sapir in 1921. I repeat, language is purely human and non-instinctive method of communicating ideas, emotions and desires by means of voluntarily produced symbols. Sapir, 1921. Second definition is like this. Language is a system of arbitrary vocal symbols which permits all people in a given culture or other people who have learned the system of that culture to communicate or to interact. Finocchio in 1955. Definition of language. Third definition is like this. Language is a system of communication by sound operating through the organs of speech among members of a given community and using vocal symbols possessing arbitrary, conventional meaning. It is given by Pei in 1966. Generally accepted definition is, means commonly people used to speak whenever there is the question of definition of language. This definition is widely used everywhere. Language is a system of arbitrary vocal symbols used for human communication. Wardock in 1972. Explanations. Firstly, language is a system. That is, elements of language are combined according to rule. Ibli, been he wounded has, are unacceptable. Why? Secondly, language is arbitrary in the sense that there is no intrinsic connection between the word pen and the thing we used to write with. The fact that different languages have different words for the same object is a good illustration of the arbitrary nature of language. For example, in English we call it pen, in Marathi it is lekhni. This is also explain the symbolic nature of language. Words are just symbols. We show the thing and then we call it by name. They are associated with objects, then actions, ideas, etc. by conventions. A rose by any other name would smell as sweet. The sentence is taken from Romeo and Juliet. Means rose is always a rose. Think about the flower rose. Might be color different. Thirdly, language is vocal because the primary medium is sound for all languages, no matter how well developed their writing systems are. All evidence points to the fact that writing systems came into being much later than the spoken forms, and that they are only attempts to capture sounds and meaning on paper. For example, in what I quote, children, spoken language, read and write, means children first speak, then read, and lastly write. Design features of language. Design features of language refer to the quintessential characteristic of human language, which can distinguish any human language system from any non-human language system. I repeat again, design features of languages refers to quintessential characteristics of human language, which can distinguish any human language system from any non-human language system. They cover arbitrariness, duality, creativity, displacement and cultural transmission. Design features of language, that is, picture is given there, and see the symbol or picture is given. That picture is of tree. In English we call it tree. In any other language, maybe bomb, word, any. See, Chinese and Japanese language, it may be called differently, arbitrariness. This feature was first proposed by Saussure. The form of linguistic science bear no natural, logical, intrinsic relationship to their meaning. Means why this certain thing is called like this way, we cannot give the illustration for that or example for that or explanation why it is called like that. Different sounds are used to refer to the same, and again the example is of tree. Objects in different languages. Different sounds are used to refer to the same object in different languages. Sounds are also having the same thing. Arbitrariness means there is a picture of Shakespeare. So Shakespeare, whatever his name itself is enough or perfect to tell he is Shakespeare. Then second is rose flower. Why it is called rose? There is no such explanation. It is at lexical level. Rose by any other name would smell as sweets. Again the example is from Romeo and Juliet. Arbitrariness at the syntactic level. Syntactic means meaning level. Language is not arbitrary at the syntactic level. For example, he came in and sat down. He sat down and came in. He sat down after he came in. Which is correct? From these three, first one is giving the meaning and third one is also giving the meaning. What about the second? He sat down and came in. It is not correct. It is not proper. How to understand arbitrariness and conventions. Design features of languages. Duality means most of the time the same word has double meaning or multiple meaning. Language possesses the property of having two levels of structures, that is sounds, lower or basic level. See for example, sounds only. Meaning higher level, lower level la. Sound is at the lower level, basic level, and meaning is at the higher level. Sounds are combined with one another to form meaningful units such as words. The secondary unit sounds are meaningless and the primary units have distinct and identifiable meaning. Creativity. Language can be used to send messages we have never said or heard before. And we can give the example of COVID-19. Means it is formed in this year only, 1920, which is formed in 2019, and that is why it is 2019 COVID-19. That word was formed in this year only. Creativity is unique to human language. Means why we are say calling or giving the name as a such for table or for cupboard or for sari. Why it is sari? Couldn't explain. Creativity is unique to human language. Language is creative in that it makes possible the construction and interpretation of new signals by its user. Means it depends upon the user. Means user uses signals, and by the use of signals they give the name or a title or nouns. For example, cool. Cool has several meanings. Words can be used in new ways to mean new things and can be instantly understood by people who have never come across with that usage before. For example, cool, dictionary meaning of cool and arbitrary meaning of cool, and see the picture here. Just because of that style, the cool word is used here. Means for appearance of that person, cool is used. For cool breeze, that will be for air, or cool nature, that will be for the person's nature. Creativity. Language is resourceful because of its duality and its recursiveness. The recursiveness nature of language provides a potential to create an infinite number of endless sentences. Means one word can give thousands of sentences. Means meanings are different. Multi-meaning is possible in the language, any language. Limited rules can produce unlimited sentences. Chomsky said this in 1958. For instance, now there are the examples. This is the cat that killed, the rat that ate, the malt and lay in the house that Jack built. See the sentence. This is the cat that killed, the rat that ate, the malt and that lay in the house that Jack built. He bought a book which was written by a teacher who taught in a school which was known for its graduates who, maybe, etc., etc. Means you can add many sentences. Only one word is book, and according to the book, sentences are attached one after another. It is openness. This is another example from foreign language. Users can understand and produce words or sentences they have never heard before. Every day we send messages that have never been sent before and understand novel messages. Means every time we are using the language differently. Much of what we say and hear for the first time, yet there seems no problem of understanding. Means if we hear many things newly or many things which are new to us, but still there is no problem regarding the understanding. Displacement. Human languages enable their users to symbolize objects, events, and concepts which are not present in time and space at the moment of communication. Thus, we can refer to Confucius or the North Pole even though the first has been dead for over 2550 years and the second is situated far away from us. Means we can speak about the past and we can speak about the future. This is the nature. My master will be home in a few days. See, it is in the mind of the dog. The honeybee's dance exhibits displacement a little bit. He can refer to a source of food which is remote in time and space when he reports on it. Quite possible flower may think about this. Animal communication is normally under immediate stimulus control. For instance, a warning cry of a bird instantly announces danger. Human language is stimulus free. What we are talking about need not be triggered by any external stimulus in the world or any internal state. Our language enables us to communicate about things that do not exist or do not yet exist. Displacement benefits human being by giving us the power to power to handle, that is generalizations and abstractions. Cultural transmission. Animal call systems are genetically transmitted. Language is culturally transmitted. It is passed on from one generation to the next by teaching and learning rather than by instinct. Topics for discussion. See, there is a discussion. No matter how eloquently a dog may bark, he cannot tell you that his parents were poor but honest. Bertrand Russell says so. A rose by other name would smell as sweet. It is from Romeo and Juliet. Shakespeare said so. He bought a book which was written by a teacher who taught in a school which was known for its graduates who dash dash dash. TR may be for translation, A for n, s, l, a, t. Translate. This is the phonemic transcription of word translate. Translate a novel by Luke Song. Do we have language? Animals and kids and their creatures are speaking, animals are speaking. Do we have language? Yes, they have language, animal language, but we cannot understand that easily. Now, questions. What if there were no language? Think about, dear students, think about this. If there were no language, what would have happened? Imagine and try to write it down on paper. Second question is, what function does language play in daily life? You have to give the answer to these questions. You have to write the answers on a separate page and send it to the department, whatever the WhatsApp number you have with you. Language function. Meta functions of language proposed by Haldane. Ideational function, a model of experience as well as logical relations. Interpersonal functional, to establish and mention social relationships through language. Textual function, to create a relevance to context. See, for example, example is given there. Language functions as informative, interpersonal, performative, emotive, fatigue communion, recreational, metalingual. Functions of language are informative. Now, first, informative means whenever we try to depart or whenever we try to give any information, at that time we use a specific language which is called as informative. Means the function of first major function of the language is informative. Language is used to convey messages, that is to inform somebody of some information. What happens, what is going to happen, what is there, what happened there, what is happening there, means everything regarding the information. Declarative sentences are employed to realize the function. For example, I daily use yoga. I daily practice yoga. One of the features of the function is proposition has the true or false value. Whether it is true or whether it is false, we try to verify, and that is also one of the function of language, which comes under the title of informative. For example, water boils at 90 degrees centigrade, water boils at 100 degrees centigrade. First one is false and second one is correct, true. Interpersonal means whenever two persons are speaking with each other, at that time also interpersonal. By far the most important sociological use of language, and by which people establish and maintain their status in a society. At that time we use language. For example, polite expressions, humble words, expressions of identity which we wanted to show out. It is our external behavior. For example, the ways in which people address others, that is, dear sir, dear professors, Johnny. May be possible whenever we are saying dear sir, it may not be a dear one. So, dear professor, Johnny, and refer to themselves, yours and only yours. Oh, meaning changes, differs. Yours, your obedient servant, maybe. So, it may be sarcastic also. Indicate the various grades of interpersonal relationship. Interpersonal. In the framework of functional grammar, it is concerned with interaction between the addresser and addressee in the discourse situation and addresser's attitude towards what he speaks or writes about. Interpersonal function, in which, in the framework of functional grammar, it is concerned with interaction between the addressers and addressee, addressers to whom we are talking, addressee one who is talking, in the discourse situation, and the addresser's attitude towards what he speaks or writes about. Means to whom you are talking and who is talking. Both the things are very important whenever you are talking and whenever we are speaking about the function of language, and that is interpersonal. For example, if the daughter is speaking to mother, or mother is speaking to daughter, or husband and wife speaking to each other, or friends are speaking to each other, that is interpersonal. Okay. Function of language. Performative function. This concept originates from the philosophical study of language represented by Austin and Searle, whose theory now forms the backbone of pragmatics. For example, I now declare the meeting open. Sorry, I now declare the meeting open means though it is said open, the meaning of this sentence is the host is now keep the meeting for discussion. I bet you £2 it will rain tomorrow. This is you can say for betting. It is means tomorrow may be raining or tomorrow may not be raining, but the person who is speaking is going to bet on that for £2. Performative function. It is to change the social status of persons, as in marriage ceremonies, the sentencing of criminals, the blessings of children, the naming of a ship at a launching ceremony, and the cursing of enemies, formal and ritualized, both the type of sentences included under the performative function. The performative function can extend to the control of reality, as on some magical or religious occasion. For example, in Chinese, when someone breaks a bowl or a plate, the host or the people present are likely to say dash dash dash. That is in Chinese. So I could not call it, or I could not speak Chinese. As a means of controlling the invisible forces which the believers feels might affect their lives adversely. In Marathi we used to say that vastu tathastu mante. Emotive function. To change the emotional status of an audience for or against someone or something, swear words means I swear, obscenities, involuntary verbal reactions to beautiful art or scenery, conventional words, phrases, for example, my God, damn it, what a sight, wow, oh, fatigue communion. It refers to a social interaction of language, means in special societies or specific community, the sentences or language spoken is completely different. In Marathi, we can say that Nagri Marathi, Kolhapuri Marathi, Kokani, etc. It refers to the social interaction of language. Small, seemingly meaningless topic to maintain a comfortable relationship between people without involving any factual content, health, weather, etc. Means on this topic, anyone can speak anything and maybe the language differ. For example, in Solapuri they may speak differently. In Nagari they speak differently. Puneri they also will speak differently. Okay. Expressions that helps define and maintain interpersonal relations such as slangs, jokes, jargons, ritualistic exchanges, switches to social and regional dialects. Means few words are spoken in a specific community or society or area or region. Okay. We all use such a small, seemingly meaningless expressions to maintain a comfortable relationship between people without involving any factual content. Good morning, God bless you, nice day, hello, Jai Bhim, Namaskar, etc. Greetings, farewells, okay, येतो, ठीक आहे, बरे, काळजी घ्या, तब्येतीला सांभाळा, farewells. Okay, see you soon, see you later, see you tomorrow, okay. And comments on the weather in English and on clothing in Chinese. To use language for the sheer joy of using it, such as a baby's babbling, a chanter's chanting, verbal dwelling, poetry writing, etc. There, the function of language differs. Baby's babbling. To take one example, the well-known movie it is from China. Features of a scene of that is also again from China, song dwelling, mostly for the sheer joy and playing on language. Means if you are very happy at that time in a sheer joy, you can speak whatever you speak. That is also one of the function of language. Metalingual function. Language can be used to talk about itself. Meta-language, certain kinds of linguistic science or terms for the analysis and description of particular studies, for example, approving, formal, non-technical, old-fashioned, etc. Informative. This is the examples of types, that is informative language, interpersonal language, formative language, evocative language, phatic language, recreational language, and metalingual. See, for example are given there. Hello, do you know? I heard that. With a language, people can express themselves and communicate with each other. This is the function. Dear sir, dear professor, John, yours, obedient servant. By language, people establish and maintain their social status in a society. Marriage ceremony, the sentence of a criminal, sui sui pingyan, to break a bow on spring festival. It is people use language to change social status or control the reality on some special occasions. Emotive. Oh my God, what a sight. Hurrah. Language can be used to get rid of the nervous energy when we are under stress. Fatigue. Good morning, thank you. God bless you. Language is used to maintain a comfortable relationship between people without involving any factual content. Tip tongue, recreational. Tip tongue, poetry writing gives people the pleasure of using language. People use language for the sheer of joy only, exciting mood. Then metalingual, book, number of printed or written sheets of paper bound together in a cover book. This is the actual meaning, dictionary meaning. Book means number of printed or written sheets of paper bound together in a cover. People use language to talk about language itself. So his book. Linguistic can be defined as the scientific or systematic study of language. It is a science in the sense that it scientifically studies the rules, systems, and principles of human language. Linguistic has two main purposes. One is that it studies the nature of language and tries to establish a theory of language and describe languages in the light of theory established. Second one, the other is that it examines all the forms of language in general and seeks a scientific understanding of the way in which it is organized to fulfill the needs it serves and the function it performs in human life. About linguistic. Main branches of linguistic, they are first phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, pragmatics. Macrolinguistic, psycholinguistic, sociolinguistic, anthropological, computational. Scope of linguistics. Microlinguistics include phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. Macrolinguistics includes sociolinguistics, psycholinguistics, neurolinguistics, stylistics, discourse analysis, computational linguistics, cognitive linguistics, applied linguistics. Core branches of linguistics, language, sounds, words, sentences, meaning. Phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, pragmatics. Linguistic. Under the linguistic, we have to study language, sound, words, sentences, and then meaning. Under the title of sounds, we have to study phonetics and phonology. Under the title of words, we have to study morphology. Under the words sentences, we have to study syntax. Under the title of meaning, we have to study semantics. In other words, it is called as pragmatics. Macrolinguistic peripheral branches, psycholinguistics, language plus psychology. Sociolinguistic, language plus society. Anthropological in linguistic, language plus anthropology. Computational in linguistics, language plus computer. Microlinguistics, that is phonetics, is the scientific study of speech sounds. It studies how speech sounds are articulated, transmitted, and received. Phonology is the study of how speech sounds function in a language. It studies the ways speech sounds are organized. It can be seen as the functional phonetics of a particular language. Morphology is the study of the formation of words. It is a branch of linguistics which breaks words into morphemes. It can be considered as a grammar of word as a syntax is a grammar of sentence. Microlinguistic syntax. Syntax deals with the combination of words into phrases, clauses, and sentences. It is the grammar of sentence construction. Semantics is a branch of linguistics which is concerned with the study of meaning in all its formal aspects. Words have several types of meaning. Pragmatics can be defined as the study of language. Pragmatics can be defined as the study of language in use. It deals with how speakers use language in a way which cannot be predicted from linguistic knowledge alone, and how hearers arrive at the intended meaning of speaker. Pragmatics is equal to meaning minus semantics. Macrolinguistic. Sociolinguistics studies the relations between language and society. How social factors influence the structure and use of language. Psycholinguistic is the study of language and mind. The mental structures and processes which are involved in the acquisition, comprehension, and production of language. Neurolinguistics is the study of language processing and language representation in the brain. It typically studies the disturbances of language comprehension and production caused by the damage of certain areas of the brain. Macrolinguistic stylistics is the study of how literary effects can be related to linguistic features. It usually refers to the study of written language, including literary text, but it also investigates spoken language sometimes. Discourse analysis or text linguistics is the study of the relationship between language and the context in which language is used. It deals with how sentences in spoken and written language form larger meaningful units. Computational linguistics is an approach to linguistics which employs mathematical techniques, often with the help of a computer. Macrolinguistic. Cognitive linguistics is an approach to the analysis of natural language that focuses on language as an instrument for organizing, processing, and conveying information. Applied linguistics is primarily concerned with the application of linguistic theories, methods, and findings to the elucidation of language problems which have arisen in other areas of experience. Important distinctions in linguistics. Descriptive versus prescriptive. If a linguistic study describes and analyzes the language people naturally use, it is said to be descriptive. If it aims to lay down rules for correct behavior, that is to tell people what they should say and what they should not say, it is said to be prescriptive. Descriptive versus prescriptive. Don't say X. Don't say X. People don't say X. The first is the prescriptive command, while the second is descriptive statement. The distinction lies in prescribing how things ought to be and describing how things are. Descriptive versus prescriptive. Most modern linguistics is descriptive. It attempts to describe what people actually say. Traditional grammar told people how to use a language. As a traditional grammar tries to lay down rules, they are often called prescriptive. Descriptive grammars attempt to tell what is in the language, while prescriptive grammars tells people what should be in the language. Language changes and develops. The changes should be observed and described. This does not deny that languages have rules. Important distinctions in linguistics. Synchronic versus diachronic. Language can be studied at a given point in time or over time. When we study language at one particular time, at some point of time in history, it is called synchronic linguistic. When we study language developments through time, it is called diachronic or historical linguistic. Synchronic linguistics focuses on the state of language at any point in history, while diachronic linguistics focuses on the differences in two or more than two states of language over decades or centuries. Diachronic, historical, linguistic. Important distinctions in linguistic. Language versus parole. The distinction made by Swiss linguist Ferdinand Saussure in the early 20th century. Langue and parole are French words. Language refers to the abstract linguistic systems shared by all the members of the speech community, and parole refers to the realization of langue in actual use. Langue is the set of conventions and rules which language users all have to abide by, and parole is the concrete use of the conventions and the application of the rule. Langue is abstract. It is not the language people actually use. Parole is concrete. It refers to the naturally occurring language events. Important distinctions in linguistics. Competence versus performance. Proposed by American linguist N. Chomsky in the late 1950s. Competence, the ideal user's knowledge of rules of his language. Performance, the actual realization of this knowledge in linguistic communication. According to Chomsky, a speaker has internalized a set of rules about his language. This enables him to produce and understand an infinitely large number of sentences and recognize sentences that are ungrammatical and ambiguous. Then what's the distinction between Chomsky and Saussure? Important distinctions in linguistics. Langue is a social product and a set of conventions for a community, while competence is deemed as a property of the mind of each individual. Saussure looks at language more from a sociological or sociolinguistic point of view than Chomsky, since the latter deals with his issues psychologically or psycholinguistically. Important distinctions in linguistics. Ethics versus emics. The two terms originate from the American linguist Pike's distinction of phonetics and phonemics. Ethic is related to an approach to the study of a particular language or culture that is general, non-structural and objective in its perspective. Being ethic means making far too many as well as behaviorally inconsequential differentiations, just as was often the case with a phonetic versus phonemic analysis in linguistic proper. Important distinctions in linguistics. Emic is related to an approach to the study of a particular language or culture in terms of its internal elements and their functioning rather than in terms of any existing external scheme. That is to say, an emic set of speech, acts and events must be one that is validated as meaningful via final resource to the native members of a speech community rather than via appeal to the investigator's integrity or intuition alone. See the symbols there.